And next one is going to be Martin Taylor about robot framework test results. Please. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Martin Taylor. I work at Nimi, a small startup company in Toronto, in Canada. And we've been using Robot Framework ever since I've been there, about 3 years. And personally, I've been using Robot Framework since 2008 in other companies. What Nimi makes is this band. And it's not a watch, it's a security device that communicates with Bluetooth or NFC tap, if you like a credit card. And on the band, there is firmware that I have to test. On the host side, there's 3 components of what we call our software development kit, our SDK. Those have to be tested. And then there's a back-end database that maintains the relationship between individual users and individual bands and makes that connection. That's 5 different components. All of those components can be at different versions within the last 3 releases of our product, and they should all work together. That's our backward compatibility requirement. But not all of those versions support all of the features that are encapsulated in my test suite. My test suite obviously has to test the very latest version of the product in addition to all of these earlier versions. So what happens is at runtime, I determine which version of each of these components that I'm dealing with, and then I have tests on various features. And what I would like to say in Robot Framework is, oh, I'm going to skip this test because that feature that I'm trying to test is not implemented in that particular version that's under test. Some other situations we have to support Windows 10, Windows 7, Linux, and Citrix as runtime environments. Not all of those runtime environments support every feature of the product. So again, I need, if I'm running in this environment, I need to skip certain tests that aren't supported in that context. And finally, when we're dealing with this NFC tap stuff, we support maybe half a dozen or so third-party NFC readers. I don't have all those in my lab. Right now I have one kind in the lab. Previously I had several kinds. It's dynamic. It changes as to what we have. Again, test cases need to be written for each of the flavors of readers because we have to validate them. But for me to go and report a test as passed when I don't have that reader is very misleading. Likewise, fail is also misleading because it didn't fail, it just didn't get tested. So this is my case for a new Robot Framework result state called skipped. And yeah, I see some support. That's lovely. There's lots of benefits to this because you can then run all of your tests and see that your graph of a number of tests run or present is constant. And what you'll see in the results is that rather than everything passed, well, no, everything except these half dozen tests passed, and these were skipped because they weren't appropriate in that particular environment or combination of the system under test. Another benefit that was recently just pointed out to me is that when a test case fails in Robot Framework at a given step, you don't get to see the rest of the steps in the report. If you want to know what was missed, you have to go and look at the original source code. But if those tests would be marked as skipped by Robot Framework because, no, sorry, not those tests, those keywords, the next steps in your test case. So it fails here, and all of these other ones would be marked as skipped because they weren't executed due to the failure. Again, it's more useful information, and I look like I'm getting down on the time. So I've been chatting about this on the Slack channels, and I've been trying to make a case for it for quite a while, and I wanted to give this opportunity to the larger audience here. How many people would find this a useful feature and would like to see it? Great. How many people think it's useless and nasty and don't want to have it in Robot Framework at all? And the rest of you are just sitting on the fence and you don't care? Okay, thank you very much.
There was actually missing one question we want to ask. Who is doing the pull request for this? Oh, screwed.
Hello. Yeah, I don't have much of a question. I have actually a comment only. Like, I totally agree that skip status would be good, and we've been discussing about it for ages. But the question hasn't even been that much about how hard it would be to implement. It's not trivial, but it's definitely manageable. The issue is that we already have this criticality thing, which is kind of, we have status and criticality. And I've been thinking from a long time that if we had skip, we need to remove this criticality. And not everybody seems to agree with that. But you need to talk me over with that, or you need...
Personally, I've never used the criticality, and I don't really understand your relationship between it and skipped.
Well, this is definitely not the best time now to go through that. But this is something we can discuss. But I would be fine adding skip if we can remove criticality. So I mean that's kind of a, if you can do that.
Can we just take a quick survey on who?
No, let's no.
Tatu want to say. Tatu, you have 20 seconds. And you're voting. Reducing the.
Okay, who's in favor of removing the criticality? Sure, all right. Who uses it? Who uses it? Okay.
10%.
The issue is that criticality and skip are so related that most of the people, at least, who are using criticality could probably use skip instead.
Also skip critical tests.
Okay, guys, you can have it during the beer, please. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Marcus.